Hi, everyone, and welcome to our virtual neighborhood project information meeting for Phase 2, Segment 3 of the Pinellas Trail South Gap. I'm Tony Fabrizio with Pinellas County Communications, and I'll be your moderator. This meeting is being recorded. Segment 3 will connect the Pinellas Trail from Haynes Bayshore Road to Whitney Road. Many of you may remember that we held a virtual public meeting to discuss this part of the project last May. We were early in the public engagement process at that time, and we provided an overview and listened to your thoughts and collected additional input in an online survey. Since then, our project team has reviewed your feedback and taken a closer look at the alignment options. In November, we met with a few of your neighbors on Allendale Drive and had what we felt was a very good conversation. Tonight, we're going to present two proposed alignments for Segment 3, and we're going to ask you to help us make one of these work for your community. So to get things started, let me introduce Mona Gabriel, our Capital Improvements Division Director, for some brief opening comments. Hi, Mona.
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Clearwater Central Catholic High School for cheerfully saying yes when we asked them if we could hold this meeting here or there. Unfortunately, we saw a big jump in COVID-19 cases during the holidays, and we decided it would be safer to do this meeting virtually. But we're going to present the same information here that we would have showed you in person. And we're going to make this a two-way conversation by answering your questions and listening to your concerns. We'll take what we learned here tonight, go back and do some research, and hopefully come up with a plan we can move forward with. The county and a great many number of our residents and visitors believe that the Pinellas Trail is a wonderful amenity. It's very popular and safe, and visitors believe that it's a great amenity. And we're excited about bringing it to the east side of the county and completing a 75-mile loop. With that, I'll turn it back to Tony. Thank you.
Thanks, Mona. Next up, Matt Fabrizio, our consultant project manager, is going to come on and share some slides and talk about the latest project developments. Hi, Matt.
Thank you, Tony. Okay, so tonight we're here to talk about Phase 2, Segment 3. This is the segment from Haynes Bayshore to Whitney Road. The Pinellas Trail Loop is a 75-mile loop once it's completed. This has been a long-time vision for the county. It's won a lot of awards. Two-time winner of the Best Trails of Florida. It's a member of the National Rails to Trails Hall of Fame. It was featured in the Wall Street Journal last year. We did meet in May 13th of last year, and we presented all the alternative alignments for the whole South Gap corridor. And then in June, we closed the survey. June 28th, we went in the field. We met with a lot of the property owners. We had some additional meetings with the property owners. And as Tony mentioned, November 16th, we had another meeting with the Allendale community too, to try to address some of the concerns of the trail. And tonight we're here to kind of just discuss some of the things that we came up with and some of these ideas. So what I'd like to do first is kind of share some of the information that we received from the public survey. And you can see based on the zip codes, a lot of the people that attended the last meeting and filled out the survey lived along the South Gap Trail, which is good. As part of the survey, you were able to select what proposed alignment you liked for segment 3. And you can notice that 3C was preferred, but mostly preferred by the owners adjacent to the Duke Energy easement. 3A was preferred by the trail users. Some of the other questions that came down, we kind of grouped them into different categories. In the alignment 3C, you can see general safety was one of the concerns based on the survey with alignment 3C. Some of the challenges when we were viewing alignment 3C was vehicle speed and traffic volumes from US 19. There's a number of commercial driveways and road crossings. The reduced trail width to a minimum of 8 feet doesn't give the users for two-way traffic a lot of room. There's a lot of major utility impacts. Additional right-of-way is needed along US 19, and there's also possible business damages. From the survey, there were some concerns with alignment 3D as well, and you can see the main #1 concern was general safety. And some of the challenges that we looked at when we evaluated alignment 3D was, the vehicle speeds and traffic volumes. It was the longest route, a number of driveways and road crossings, drainage impacts, trees and surface water impacts, and also privacy loss because the trail proximity to the front of the homes. The two main concerns with 3A and 3B were just route the trail elsewhere and crime. Some of the challenges that we looked at for alignment 3A were the wetland impacts that would be involved in putting the trail. But the proposed benefits of alignment 3A, it was the shortest and least impacted route. It utilized mainly Duke Energy easement. There's no vehicular traffic. It was the safest route, the most scenic route. It used the open green spaces, fewer stops and disruptions, better visibility for trail users, and accommodated the full trail width. Alignment 3B, one of the big challenges there was the privacy loss, and the trail alignment would be in front yards at Cardinal Drive. This is a matrix comparing all 4 alternatives, and this is what we presented. It's also on the website if you want to study it any further, but it kind of evaluates all 4 alignments, and we had some comparisons that we looked at for all 4 of them. So tonight, what can we do to make this proposed alignment 3A work for the community? I think, green spaces and fences between residents and trail, just enhance privacy between the people that live next to the trail, minimize wetland impacts and address drainage concerns. So one of the things, when we go through and lay out the alignment, the trail, we're going to try to harmonize it with the surroundings. The trail alignments will minimize impacts to existing vegetation. Fences between residents and trail, security and privacy were the top concerns from residents. Restricting access from trail users into private properties, restricting access from trail users into neighborhoods. And a chain link fence can provide this with the trail. We did reach out to Duke Energy, and they will allow a fence along the trail easement. What you see is the Dodge Circle neighborhood, and this is just a kind of an example of what we could do to put that trail. And in orange, it'll go, this is where the fence or the buffer would go. And you can see it would also not allow anybody from the trail to go on to Dodge Circle. Here's Levine Lane. Here's Allendale Drive. Here's Cardinal Drive. And we would look at also where the boat, Quality Boats is. So what can we provide for the proposed alignment 3A to work for the community? This is a picture looking north, taken along the easement at Allendale Drive. This is a rendering of just a fence only with the trail. This is one with hedges, adult hedges. This is a 6-foot fence and privacy slats. This is a 6-foot fence with the hedges in back of the fence. These are a few of the shrubs that the county has used on other projects that we could look at using for this project. One of the drainage concerns, and once we went out there and looked, with the pond maintenance, especially the pond maintenance for the Honda dealership's pond. We did meet with them. We met with the city of Largo and Swiftmud, and the Honda dealership had a crew out there and they were starting to clean up the pond. We're going to follow up on that to see, but it's their responsibility to make sure that pond is functioning correctly and maintaining it. One added benefit to having the trail in the back there is that the trail will be designed in ways to minimize stormwater runoff and erosion. Pinellas County will also provide maintenance for both the trail and its drainage facility, but still the Honda pond will still need to be maintained by the dealership. Just a little bit to address the wetland concern. The trail alignment will use the natural features of the easement. The trail alignment will avoid the wetlands as much as possible and will follow the contours of existing topography just to minimize some of the impacts. The evaluation process of alignment 3. Alignment 3C and 3D are just less favored because of safety and other concerns. We are in the process of reviewing the trail and fences along with Duke Energy and the city of Largo. Today, we are reviewing these alternatives with the residents along phase 2, segment 3. That's what brings us here tonight. Your feedback is very important to us. This is an ongoing public involvement, and it's essential to the success of this project that you're involved. The public will continuously be updated throughout the development of this process. Our next step is we'll summarize the comments that we talk about tonight. We'll update the website with the most up-to-date information. We'll finalize the concept alternatives. And in spring of 2022, we'll present the proposed alignments to the Board of County Commissioners. And thank you for joining us tonight. And on the bottom is the project website. Tony?
Thanks, Matt. And you can, there you go, thanks. And you can keep your camera on too. We have 3 other experts who are here tonight to answer your questions and hear your comments, and I'll introduce them now. First, our project manager from Pinellas County Public Works, Jeff Antonacci. Jeff, hi, Jeff.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
We also have our Transportation Division Director, Tom Washburn. Hey, Tom.
Good evening, Tony, and good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight.
And we have Joan Rice, who is also from our Transportation Division. Joan is one of our leading experts on our full Pinellas County Trail Network. Hi, Joan.
Hi there. Good evening, everybody.
So now it's your turn to ask questions and offer comments. And to get that started, I'll offer some brief instructions for those of you who are new to Zoom. Give me just a second here while I share a slide. If you move your cursor to the bottom of the screen, you'll bring up a toolbar that includes a Q&A icon. I see somebody already found it, and a raised hand. The toolbar may actually be at the top of your screen if you're on a mobile device. To ask a question, click on the Q&A button and type it in. We'll read and answer those aloud. Now, if you want to ask a question verbally or offer a comment, click on the raised hand and that will place you in a queue. For anyone who doesn't have Zoom, you can call in on the number that was provided with your registration and then press *9 on your phone and you'll be placed in that same queue. We're going to mix in typed questions and raised hands with the intention of getting to everybody, but we're not going to repeat questions that have already been answered. Just a second here. The Q&A portion of our program is going to be moderated by Aaron Lawson, our Transportation Engineering Section Manager. So at this time, I'm going to turn the mic over to Aaron. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, good evening, Tony and audience. Welcome again. And I have one additional request before we get into the Q&A portion. If you have a raised hand or you call in for a comment, we ask that you please limit that to 2 minutes so that we may be able to get to everyone who calls in. And with that, I'll go ahead and I'll start with a couple of our typed in comments and questions. The first one was a question about attendance and if the list of the attendees can be reported. And that will in fact be reported. After this meeting is over, there will be a full report. And upon request, someone here will be able to send that list to you. Please feel free to send that request to the project email, that is ptsg@pinellascounty.org. Okay, now we'll move on to the next question. Tom, I'm going to direct this question to you. Who will ensure that the trail usage stops at sundown?
Sure. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, this is a pretty common question that we get, especially with our new trail segments. As we've said in the past, the trail is open basically during the daylight hours. During that time, it's typically patrolled by our park rangers through the Parks and Recreation Department. At night, it is intended to be closed. We know, obviously, we don't lock it down. It's not gated, but if there is activity out there, it can be reported to the sheriff's office and then they'll respond and take care of whatever issues there might be. That's usually the most effective way to get that under control if it starts to get out of hand.
Thank you, Tom. Next question. If the option with the 6-foot fence and shrubs on the outside of the fence facing the owner's properties is chosen, will the county trim these shrubs and replace them if there are plants that don't survive? I'm going to go ahead and answer that one. Public Works, as well as our Parks Department, does maintain the trail. So any vegetation that is planted within the county's right-of-way or easement would be maintained and trimmed, in this case, by the county. Next question. Hi, everyone. Mike Proctor, Allendale Drive. I would like to be sure if the vegetation is placed on our property side of the fence will still be maintained by the county and not our responsibility. Okay, so maybe I wasn't quite clear on that last answer. If it is on the property owner's side, planted within the property owner's property, that would be the property owner's responsibility. So just to be clear, anything planted on the county's right-of-way or easement would be the county's responsibility, but on the property owner's side, it would be the property owner's. Okay, this looks like a comment. Shrubs are not a deterrent if they don't have thorns. Suggest bougainvillea. Thank you for that. Next question, I'm going to direct this one to Jeff. Why only a 6-foot fence? Can't it be 10 foot?
Well, we talked about starting with a 6-foot fence, proposing a 6-foot fence, recognizing that that is county and city of Largo's base code height. However, they will allow, with a variance, we have to request a variance, we have to justify it. They will allow us to possibly go up to 8 feet. I don't know about the 10-foot height, but I think certainly the 8-foot could probably be doable and approved by the city of Largo and also within county code.
Thank you, Jeff. Next question, this again to either Jeff or Matt. It appears that the proposed fence line along Allendale Drive properties is cutting into some property lines. What drivers were considered when this fence line was proposed?
Yeah, I'm gonna,
Jeff, do you want me to answer that?
yeah, if you could answer that, Matt, that'd be great.
Sure, sure. So, so this was just kind of, we were looking at it and just see what made the most sense. But you know, that Duke Energy easement goes through a lot of those backyards and properties. So we would try to see what we could do with the fence. So this was kind of just kind of a initial, you know, initial stab at it. But we could, once we get more further into design, we could iron out exactly what that alignment of the fence would be.
Thank you very much.
We followed pretty much where the easement was, the easement line.
Aaron, we have a raised hand. Would you like to take a verbal comment or question?
Sure, that would be great, Tony.
Okay, this is Andrew Schiller. Andrew, I'm going to unmute you, and now you'll have to unmute yourself.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Very good. The obvious reason that homeowners on Levine Lane, on the west side of Levine Lane, are concerned about the Pinellas Trail is the crime that the Pinellas Trail brings. I also own property on the east side, on the west side of the county, near the old Pinellas Trail, which is 2 blocks from my property, and I can attest to crime in my neighborhoods that are a result of the Pinellas Trail, which unfortunately isn't monitored, isn't patrolled at night, and is known colloquially as the criminal highway. How do you want to approach our concerns for privacy? I just bought my house 4 weeks ago, and now I'm being told the Pinellas Trail is going to be behind my house. Doesn't make me happy. I wouldn't have bought the house if I knew the Pinellas Trail was there. It's going to lower my property value. Can someone please address property value and how we are being somehow compensated for the reduction in our property value because there's a criminal highway behind their house?
Aaron, I'll take the first stab at that, please.
Okay, thank you, John.
You're welcome. I'm sorry that you feel that the Pinellas Trail, the existing portion of it, is bringing crime to your neighborhood. We do have a security task force that meets 4 times a year to discuss any kind of security issues on the existing portion of the Pinellas Trail. And when we talk to the officers, the law enforcement for each of the different localities of that, they let us know that the crime is not associated with the trail, but it's actually associated with the surrounding properties, and that the trail ends up just being what is pinged when people call in. They say it's at this location near the Pinellas Trail. To have any kind of assurance of this, what we could do is actually bring out Pinellas Sheriff as well as the Largo Police to talk with homeowners, to tell them exactly what they do to prevent nighttime usage or any kind of other criminal activity that's associated in the area, so that we can give you a little more assurance. As far as property values, I know we have an old study that actually shows that some of the properties along the Pinellas Trail have actually increased in value only because of the closeness of the trail for certain types of people that want to live close to the trail. So that's what I can offer you.
Everybody's property value has gone up. I mean, it's just Pinellas County and it's a housing boom. We know that we have drug activity on the east side of Levine Lane. And there have been deaths in the house and overdoses galore. The Pinellas Trail will draw people toward the supply of drugs. The Pinellas County Sheriff has done nothing to, over many years, to help us with the drug problem on our street. That's why we're concerned that you run a walkway within 300 feet of a drug house, and you're going to get drug traffic. It's just going to draw more crime into our area. As a community, again, I'm brand new in the community, but I've talked to almost everybody along Levine Lane. Everyone is against this, plans A and B.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Schiller. I'll go ahead and move on to the next comment, written comment. And this one I'm going to direct towards Jeff. Once the extension of the trail is advertised to the public, are there any plans to provide parking to the users who want to start on this segment? I don't see where there is any parking on Haynes Bayshore to facilitate this, unlike on Belcher, where there's a small area of green space for vehicles to park and use the trail.
At this time, we have no plans to provide parking for users of the trail. There's simply no space available, and it's not part of our scope to provide parking for people that want to use the trail, to drive there and to use the trail.
Thank you. Next question. This will go to Joan. Can you put nighttime video cameras on the trail?
There are some locations that currently do have nighttime video cameras. They are typically used in areas that are industrial, so there's not as much activity in the whole neighborhood. That is something that we can bring up with the security task force. I'm just not quite sure who would be in charge of maintaining that equipment.
Thank you, Joan. Next question, back to Jeff. I'm assuming that Duke Energy will be able to access the trail below the towers. Are they going to be accessing the towers from the trail so that our neighborhood can be isolated from the trail?
On this one, I may need a little assistance from Matt, but I believe Duke Energy currently has access points where they access the right of way, and I don't believe it'd be from the trail per se. I think they already have access points. I don't believe it's off of Allendale, but Matt, can you correct me if I'm wrong?
So Jeff, based on our coordination of what the trail alignment was, I think in that section, and I'd have to, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 90% sure that they did not need to access off of Allendale. There was enough other places to access the towers.
I agree. That's what I would call as well. Again, we're still in kind of the preliminary engineering phase of this, and really hard design hasn't progressed at this point. We're still trying to decide on alignment. So that'll come after we decide on alignment. And that's what this meeting here is about.
Thank you, Jeff and Matt. Tony, I see another raised hand. Is that a new one?
Yes, it is. Okay, Courtney Dean, I'm going to unmute you, and you can unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment.
Hello, I'm purchasing 0 Levine Lane. It is right next to the Duke easement you're looking to access. And I'm all for the trail. I think it's a great addition to finish off the 75 miles would be wonderful. And I'd love to see it happen right next to this property that I'm purchasing. I just want to make sure that there will be easement access so that I'll be able to access my property.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, let me make sure I understand your question. Are you asking if you'll be able to access the trail directly from your property?
No, I just want to be able to get to my property. Am I gonna be able to cross the trail with an easement?
Jeff or Matt, maybe you're more familiar with the location she's speaking of, and you can weigh in on that question.
Yeah, are you located mid-block or whereabouts are you on Levine?
It's 0 Levine Lane, right in the middle of that field that's empty with the power lines for the section you're looking to go through, section A.
Yeah, and you're wanting to know if you can access directly to the trail?
I want to be able, well, I have an easement document for that property to be able to access the property, because as of right now, the only way to access it is through Duke's easement. And you're looking to put a trail right through that same easement.
Let's see.
So Jeff, you know, I guess if you have an easement, then of course we would have to keep you access. I would have to maintain that access during the design of the trail. So
Okay.
that wouldn't be a question if that's the case.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we would have to provide access. We can't just landlock people through for our trail. We would accommodate your access needs. I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with the exact location of your property in relation to the
Okay.
trail.
Yeah,
So-
this is Andy Schiller again. Her property is directly west of my property at 1944 Levine Lane.
Okay,
It has no access to Levine Lane. It isn't on Levine Lane, and the made-up address of 0 Levine Lane isn't actually an address. It was the garage built by the prior owner of the house I bought, and it has no water, no sewer. All the water, sewer, and sprinklers are coming from my house.
Not as of now, it's shut off.
It's all shut off now, yes, and rightly so. So the point is, it's only a garage. It isn't a dwelling. It doesn't require access because nobody's going to live in it.
That's very speculative of you. When you don't own the property, and it is a residential property in which I am intending and using.
I think we need to do a little bit more research on this. Now that we have this additional information, you know, we'll make sure we incorporate that and consider it during the design so that we have accommodations to have access to that parcel.
and what, did you leave your name, or you can contact us directly if you need to discuss your access needs and other utility needs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Aaron, we have quite a few questions in the Q&A. Why don't we take a few of those and then we'll take the next raised hand if that's okay?
Okay, great. Thank you, Tony. Next one. Obviously, all residents would prefer the option to have the fencing along with the shrubs. How and when will you be making a decision of which privacy option will be selected? And Jeff, I'll let you respond.
Well, that's what this evening is about. We will regroup after we get everybody's input, and we'll make a decision at the county level, and then report back to the community based on our judgment and the input that we get from you. And hopefully we can come to some agreement on an alignment here. or get closer to that this evening. Once that occurs, then we report back and show what we've come up with. And we'll probably put that on the website. And then after that, hopefully this spring, we'll be ready to go to the Board of Commissioners with the proposed alignment to present to them for approval. And that will happen anytime in April to June range.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Next, we'll direct to Joan. Are motorized vehicles such as scooters, electric skateboards, and etc. allowed on the trail?
Thank you. There are some motorized vehicles that are allowed. Florida statutes recognizes that some electric bicycles, certain types up to a certain speed, are allowed to be on locations that other bicycles are allowed. So yes, electric bicycles are. There are scooters that are allowed, but there are things like golf carts you cannot have on the Pinellas Trail. So there are certain things that can and certain things that cannot. And then I would like to kind of add on a little bit to the question about the parking. We don't have parking or trailheads at all locations along the Pinellas Trail. There's only in key locations where we have a little bit more land that we can put more parking. So we're always looking to add more parking, but Haynes Bayshore area does not have enough area for parking, but possibly down at Roosevelt, there might be an area that we can add more parking. Thank you.
Thanks, Joan. Thanks for clarifying that as well.
Aaron, we have a raised hand from Bob Dean. He's had his hand up for a little bit here. Mr. Dean, I'm going to unmute you, and now you can unmute yourself and just click on your microphone, and then you can ask your question or make your comment.
Great. I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Hey, this is directed towards Jeff. Jeff, you and I spoke about a week or so back. I sent you an email. I'm the realtor with Century 21 Beggins, and both Andrew Schiller and Courtney Dean were speaking about the parcel that you and I spoke about. I don't believe that this is necessarily the forum to discuss the particular needs, but I just wanted to trump in and say I am here. I am listening. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Andrew. And just wanted you to know that I am partaking.
Good to talk to you again, Bob. Thank you.
You got it. And I'll be in touch, Jeff, after the fact, after this meeting.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Aaron, we have a raised hand from Peggy Rogan. Peggy, I'm going to unmute you, and you can unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment, please. Peggy, if you see your little microphone icon down at the bottom, if you click on that.
Hi, my question's already been answered, so I don't need to be answered again. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We can go back to the Q&A for a few. Andrew, Aaron, if you'd like.
Okay, great. Okay, next one is going to go back to Jeff. Please clarify. So the proposed shrubs planted on the outside of the proposed fence will be on property owner's property line, and the property owners will have to maintain the shrubs.
Yes, that's what we're proposing this evening. The fence will go on the Duke easement side or the county easement side, and then the shrubbery will be on private property maintained by the property owners. That's what we're proposing this evening. The problem is if we have shrubbery on the other side of the fence, it's difficult to maintain both shrubbery and the fence. We'd have to plant the shrubs a significant distance away from the fence to be able to access the fence to maintain both.
Thank you for that clarification, Jeff. Next is a comment. We talked about this in the November meeting. This is from Mr. Giaconetta. An 8-foot fence would be agreeable to most of us. So thank you, Mr. Giaconetta. Okay, next question is going to go back to Joan. If the trail fence is beyond my backyard, would I be allowed to have a gate to access the trail? Can I have it if I pay for it? This is from Evelyn on Levine Lane.
Thank you for the question. At this time, Pinellas Trail does not allow private properties to have an access point. So your access to the trail would be to go down Levine and come back up on one of the side streets, either at Haynes, Bayshore, or at Whitney.
Thank you, Joan. Next one is back to Jeff. The Duke Energy easement is not in unincorporated Pinellas County, not in Largo, but surrounded by Clearwater. Why are you asking for variance for the fence from Largo?
Well, I thought that we checked into jurisdiction, police jurisdiction, and I think, as I recall, the police jurisdiction, if you were to call the police, it'd be the city of Largo. So coordination with the city of Largo, also regarding code, they seem to have jurisdiction in this area. And certainly that's
Everything north of Whitney is Clearwater.
okay. Well, then we'll check with Clearwater. So I don't see that as an issue. We can certainly coordinate with whoever needs to be, whoever the regulatory agency regarding the fence. We'll certainly coordinate with them.
Thank you, Jeff. And just to add to that, I know this is kind of an unusual area where we've got a lot going on as far as the boundary lines, but we will go back and check the boundaries, and whichever municipality needs to be consulted with, and that's who we would go through for the individual properties. Okay, we'll go on to the next question. I own the last property on Allendale on the west side of the road. This trail is running along my property line easement, which is mere feet from my structure. It is effectively eliminating my privacy and reducing the value of my property. Will you at least consider running the trail further back from our homes? And I'll direct that towards Matt or Jeff.
Well, I think what we're proposing this evening, we're showing a combination of fence, we're showing a combination of privacy slats inserted into the chain link fence. We've talked about possibility of going up to an 8-foot high chain link fence. We've also shown a combination of fence and shrubbery for privacy. That's what we're proposing this evening. Matt, did I leave anything out? You want to add anything to that comment?
No, I think that's at this point, but we're looking for suggestions as well too.
Yeah.
So but I guess based on our meeting and a lot of the comments from the survey, this is what we could do in the easement and what the county was good with. So that's kind of what we're trying to present tonight.
Aaron, we have a raised hand from Chrissy Johannesson. And Chrissy, I'm going to unmute you, and you can speak when you unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. I actually am the property owner along Cardinal Drive. So my property runs the majority of Cardinal Drive. And I'm not opposed to, I just want to state it. I'm not opposed to a trail. I think a trail is lovely, a trail that loops all around. I think that it's wonderful. I just really don't want it to go along my property. So I wanted to actually find out, because I'm jumping on a little bit late, if there is are like we 50-50 between 3A and 3B. Is it leaning in a direction? Because if you're looking for recommendations, My recommendation would be 3A, keep it as far away from residents' properties as possible, including the gentleman at the end of Allendale to move it as far away from our properties as possible. I have dealt with, because my property is so long, I have dealt with quite a few people who, you know, have no homes or whatnot, walking along my property, through my property, late at night, going out to my garbage can, only to be terrified of somebody standing there because they just walked along that back end of my property. So I have a lot of attention on it being pushed as far away from our homes and along that 3A corridor. I have high schoolers, young children. This is the place to hang out. So I just have a lot of attention on that. And I just wanted to know if there was some decision, 3A, 3B, are we leaning towards one or the next? Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff, I'll let you go ahead and address that.
Yeah, I think through either A or B, I think the counties, at least the engineering staff and the planners here at the county, currently are favoring towards the 3A alignment just for that reason, Chrissy. We've got an area that we've been negotiating right away with between Cardinal Drive and the boat area there that we hope will be able to contain our trail as we tie into the existing trail there on Haynes Bayshore. So I think 3A right now is favorable to the county.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, great. I'm going to go ahead and keep moving through some of these comments that we have that have been sent in. The next one is just, well, this is just a comment. A chain link fence alone without shrubs would devalue my property and negatively impact my view, which I paid a premium for. I would rather have no fence than a chain link fence. Thank you very much for that comment. Okay, next one, we might need to pull up a graphic for this. It says, it was hard to tell from the diagram you put out on this meeting. Is the fence going to be going all the way from Haynes Bayshore to Whitney Road? Matt, maybe you can pull up those graphics again that are, or if you have a still graphic to show, you know, our concept of the fence location.
Oh, sure. One minute. Okay.
And I'll just go ahead and I'll hit another comment while you're pulling that up. This one says, the studies I have read regarding property values show that a bike trail within 200 feet will decrease in value. The increase in property value is typically for people a few blocks away. This was one of my major concerns on Allendale. Okay, looks like you're ready, Matt.
Yes. So along Levine Lane, the chain link fence would go all the way across, and also along Allendale, and then Cardinal Drive. So this is just the concept of what we're proposing.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
Okay, so next one is if the purpose of the trail is to provide a service to the community and this community clearly doesn't want it, why insist on building it this way? You know, I'll just reiterate the purpose we're here tonight is we're looking to gain input. You know, we've come up with some concepts and we're looking for input from the community. The trail, as you know, does not just serve one portion of our community. fit the whole of it. Another comment, what the trail does is to give people who would commit crime to have a dark night roadway to travel by, which would make a crime easier. Okay, let me see if I can get through this one. There is a tremendous amount of land behind Levine Lane and about 250 to 350 feet across. Is the county responsible for cutting it all from side to side and provide number to call when it doesn't? I believe the area that's in question is the Duke Energy property, but Matt, are you following where this is at? Can you help us with this answer?
Yeah, so you know, one of the things that we want to do with the trail is we're only gonna be disturbing just the area that we need to fit the trail in. So we're not going to be clearing and grubbing the whole easement. That's not the intent of this at all. And Duke would not let us do that as well. So it's just so that 200 or 300 feet across would remain as is. I think that's what the answer is. Or she's getting there. The question is.
Right, and just to kind of follow up with that, if that is within the Duke property or easement, it's not county owned. And so whoever is maintaining it now, whether it be Duke or another private property owner, would still maintain the responsibility. Once the trail, or when a trail is placed in an easement, the county does take the responsibility of maintaining and mowing adjacent to the trail.
Correct. And I think that 200-300 feet, that is the width of the easement of the trail. So Duke would be responsible for that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think this question will go back to Joan, just a little clarification on who to call in the event of an emergency or a situation. I live on the east side of Allendale Drive, which is within the county, not within a city. The west side of Allendale was annexed by Largo when the homes on that side were built. The trail is behind this portion of Allendale. If there are issues on the trail, whom do we call? The City of Largo's Police Department or the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department?
Thank you. Actually, you can call either one because they do correspond back and forth, even on incidences. However, the trail itself is within the City of Largo, so it would probably be best to call the City of Largo. If it's happening on your unincorporated piece of property, then call the sheriff.
Thanks, Joan. This next question is about a tree stump. It asks if it will be removed for beautification. I'm not sure what the property address is. Anything, I can say, anything within the limits, close limits of the trail that are constructed, everything will be cleared out. So, but we will not be going on to private property to do clearing. Okay, this question I'll direct towards Jeff. It's about the November meeting. Have you gained any additional information on the pipeline discussed in November's Allendale Drive meeting that runs off of Haynes, Bayshore, and Southward?
Yes, we have information on that, and I'm going to toss that over to Matt. He's the guy that did that research and figured all that out for us. Matt, you want to answer that?
Yes, we do. Yeah, so Jeff, we do have we did meet. We did talk with City of St. Pete. We've got documents, and we actually put an exhibit together that shows the easement and also the location of the water main. And we can provide that information. I think, Jeff, if somebody reaches out to you, it's on an aerial. It's a graphic. It will
Sure.
give be real clear what it is, where it
I'd be
is.
happy to provide that to anyone who needs it.
Thank you both. Next, back to Joan. Will there be trash containers provided for trail users to throw their water bottles and trash into?
That is a question I'm going to have to find out about. I do know within the Duke Energy easement, we're not allowed to have the trash containers. We can't bring anything higher than where the ground is. But at the ends, like at Haynes, Bayshore, and at Whitney, I'll look to see if we can have trash containers put there. The main thing is making sure that someone empties the trash can. So that's the main thing. I need to make sure somebody will be available to take care of it.
All right, great. Thank you, Joan. Okay, this one seems to be more of a comment. If the A option is selected, although I do not want the trail by our home, how about making the 8 feet wall a solid wall with bushes with thorns? Well, I guess this is a question about having a wall versus a fence. And Jeff, can you give us a little more information on that?
Yeah, I think at this time, we're not discussing a solid concrete wall. It's our opinion that a chain link fence can provide significant security. And as to the shrubbery with, I believe the comment was with thorns, Aaron, did I hear that correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
We can discuss a species that has a thorny feel to them to discourage people from hanging out on them or climbing across them. So, but at this time, we have not discussed a solid concrete or masonry wall.
Yeah, and I'll just add to that, a solid wall would be quite a large maintenance undertaking as well, and it would cost quite a bit more than a fence, so it may be cost prohibitive. Okay, this next one, I'll go ahead and read through it and get some input. I read the entire Pinellas County Impact Survey, and the idea that the homes on the trail had an increased property value is an insulting oversimplification. Is there any plan to conduct a modern and actual multivariate analysis of the property values, comparing homes adjacent to the trail to homes with an accessible space behind them? That would be an unbiased and accurate approach to addressing people's concerns about property values. Joan, do you know if there's any such planned survey or study?
Well, I agree that I did say it very simply, but the study that was done several years ago compared the home value next to the trail to the home value increases throughout Pinellas Trail. So it was just looking at the Pinellas Trail area, but I agree with you that is an old study and it does need to be redone. It is a study that would be done by Forward Pinellas. Forward Pinellas is our metropolitan planning organization. That way it would be unbiased. They did the original study and they could do the new study. It is something that we have discussed with them. It's just something that they haven't put on the books yet.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, I think we've already addressed this. I'm going to go ahead and get through it. Granting access across the trail to 0 Levine Lane would give anyone on the trail access to my home at 1944 Levine Lane. That would be a security leak into my home. Will the Pinellas County Sheriff protect my property? I think Joan has stated clearly that both the Sheriff's Office or the Largo Police may be called on any instances related to the trail in this area.
I think we still need to take a look at that 0 Levine Lane. We need to grasp all of that first.
Yes, I agree. Thank you. Okay, since you're saying that the purpose of this meeting is to allow the residents to speak their voice about which privacy option will be chosen, I'd like to vote for the fence with the shrubs. It is the only option that is aesthetically appealing and also effective at providing any security. Thank you very much for that. Another comment, it is not fair to add this expense to homeowners. Okay, I have another one with a suggestion. Many along Levine agree with the resident on Allendale. The Duke Energy easement is incredibly wide, yet you're choosing to run the trail right along our property lines. My suggestion is move it to the middle of the space, the open space, instead of right along the property lines. And I'm going to let Jeff, or actually maybe even Matt, chime in on this. We do have restrictions when we are placing anything within the Duke property and even easements as well because of their facilities. And Matt or Jeff, can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, Duke Energy has a requirement. We have to stay at least 25 feet away from their structures. So that kind of restricted us from going right down the center of the alignment of their easement. And then on the north side of that area, you've got the pond. So we had to go one way or the other. And the best alignment at this point was to go on the east side. So because of the structures in the pond, kind of restricted us with our choice of alignments. Matt, do you want to have anything else to add on?
No, I think that's exactly correct, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And I'm just going to add to that. I see another one down here that's kind of talking about the wetlands or the pond. Are there considerations of incorporating a wooden bridge to incorporate the wetlands along the easement and also pull the trail a little further away from the properties?
Who is that to, Aaron?
You or
You, Matt?
Or Matt, yes.
Yeah, the only thing I can say on that, Matt, maybe you can follow up. I think we've been advised from county legal counsel that would put the county in possible averse risk. Something might happen to bikers associated with the pond. To go around the pond would require us to actually reconstruct the pond. We either go over it or we go around it, and either choice we've been advised not to do so from legal counsel.
Right.
Is that true, Matt?
Yeah, yes, that's true. But I think they're also talking about the wetlands along the property.
Okay.
The problem with with boardwalks or just the maintenance of them, and I know even the FDOT, they've built a whole bunch like 10, 20 years ago. Now they're rethinking them and tearing them down and rebuilding them because they're having a lot of issues and maintenance issues as well. So it's not really the best choice. But we're always looking for opportunities when it gets to design of what we could do, what we can't do, that would make a lot of sense. And we definitely don't want to be impacting those wetlands. So we would be definitely entertaining different ideas.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Bob.
We have a raised hand again from Bob Dean. Bob, I've unmuted you. You can go ahead and speak. You'll need to unmute yourself, sir.
Okay, I just actually sent my my concern or comment in as a written comment. You have questions with regards to Zero Levine Lane, and I'd be happy to meet with the council at any time to discuss what we're proposing and what's actually taking place. As I mentioned earlier, I've already had a conversation with Jeff and quite a few other members involved here, not present today, but at your leisure and at certainly your convenience, be happy to sit down and discuss whatever it is that's needed.
Thank you for that. I'm sure we will be in contact.
Great.
Okay, next, another clarification here to confirm the chain link fence would go from Haynes Bayshore all the way to Whitney. Is that correct? Matt?
Yeah, so at this point, I mean, that's one of our ideas. You know, none of the alignment has been really finalized, and that's what we're just bringing it up today to the group and to the public to see, you know, if this is what the way we want to go.
Thanks, Matt. We have another comment. Can we please consider that property value extends to more than just monetary value in these discussions? The wetland property and the idea that Duke Energy properties would not be developed were a heavy consideration when purchasing our homes. The project destroys that value for us. Next one is asking to repost the email address. And I think that is going to be at the end of our presentation, but I'll go ahead and just tell you one more time. It is ptsg@pinellascounty.org. Okay, we've only been discussing the segment from Haynes Bayshore to Whitney, but what is the plan to expand the trail from Whitney to East Bay and forward to Ulmerton? Matt, since you're on, will you work us through that one?
Yeah, so you know, I guess the last meeting we had in May, we presented all those alignments. So I think when we're looking at that the South Gap, it goes actually to 126, which is actually south of Ulmerton Road. So it'll go all the way from there to Haynes Bayshore. And I would just suggest all that information's on the website, all the alignments that we proposed in those locations.
All right, thank you, Matt. Next one, I'm going to go towards Joan. Would we be able to position motion sensor lights along our property facing out at night? And is it legal to walk or bike the trail at night?
Thank you. No, it is not legal to walk or bike the trail at night. The trail is considered closed at night, and the police department or the sheriff will walk you out of the area if you are in that area. As far as motion sensor lights on your property, that would be up to you. And also, I guess, code enforcement. I don't know if there are any kind of rules about pointing a light outside of your property.
Thanks, Joan. Okay, I have a couple of drainage questions here. So Matt, I'll put you on standby as I read them off. Will the flooding be handled? The amount of flooding that occurs from the overflow of the two ponds is incredible during a rainstorm.
Yeah, so I'm assuming that's the Honda pond. You know, we're trying to work with them. We know that they have not maintained that pond, and we believe that's not functioning the way it was designed. So we're trying to work with them and Swift Mud for them to maintain that pond. So that's one thing. When we build the trail, you know, that one thing that we do look at is drainage, of course, and we're not going to make anything worse. So with the trail, we're not going to be adding or you know, diverting stormwater into a person's backyard. That just can't happen, and we can't even permit or design something like that. So I think those are the two things that just comes to mind just looking at those comments.
Thank you. And then I'll just move on to the next one. Many of the homes on the east side of the proposed trail on Levine have a drainage easement on the west side of their properties between their homes and the trail. This makes the residents' ability to add their own fence limited or impossible, which increases the security concerns. Is it possible to amend the drainage plan or at least modify the easement's rights to allow residents to build their own fence or for privacy and security. Matt, are you aware of the easement that's being mentioned here?
I'm not at this point, I'm not aware of that drainage easement in that area. That's something that if this gets selected 3A, this is something that we would definitely have to work out and figure this out. I think we would have to take a look at it. I don't know, to be honest with you.
Okay, thank you. Next comment, I think C and D would be better options. Next, I've seen wooden bridges and overpasses built for the trail. I would appreciate you asking legal to reconsider. And I think I'll just kind of add to what's already been said here. You know, it's not just a legal matter, but it's a maintenance matter as well as an accessibility matter. It is not fair for the restrictions from the power company impose on us a sense of insecurity for our homes. Why not make an effort to take this further away from our homes? I think Matt and Jeff, you have already, discussed the limitations we have on placing the trail within the Duke easement. And I just want to iterate that that's not our property. We will in fact need to get an easement, and there are restrictions that limit our ability to place the trail in certain areas. And we also have to consider the endpoints and the connection points to keep the trail going beyond the limits of the Duke easement. Okay, here's a comment. Privacy is just as big a concern for me as security. My deck and pool are raised a few feet above ground, so anyone on the trail will be able to see my family enjoying our backyard. Therefore, a chain link fence alone does not address my privacy issues. Please choose the fence plus the shrub option. Thank you. Thank you very much for that comment. We've actually gotten through all of our written comments. Tony, do we have any more raised hands?
Aaron, we do not have any more raised hands at this time. We do have one, just popped up. Courtney, I'm going to unmute you and you can unmute yourself and speak.
Hello. How long will it take before this trail is completed after the plans have been finalized?
Thank you, Courtney. Jeff, can you kind of give us a rundown of the timeline?
Yeah, I believe this year we'll finalize our preliminary engineering, which will open up to design of the project throughout this next year. That would be 2022 to 2023, with the hopes of breaking ground somewhere around the summer or fall of 2023 at the earliest.
Thanks, Jeff.
Welcome.
And it looks like we've got a couple more comments that have popped in. We are speaking for our families' well-being. Please consider this as if your own families will be impacted by someone else's choice. Thank you for that comment. And then the next question, if the fence and shrub option is chosen, how large will the shrubs be when they are planted? They will take time to grow. Let's be realistic. What will be their size when planted? Jeff, do you have an answer to that one at this time?
Yeah, I can provide an answer. I'm not a landscape architect or a shrubologist, if that's what they're called, but I can say that that's one of the reasons why we showed a chain link fence option with the slats. Our thoughts were, obviously we can't come in and plant a mature fence line to have a 6 to 8 foot tall shrubbery right off the bat. So we thought offering the privacy slats while, we come in and we plant I don't know what gallon size they would be, but probably 2-3 feet tall shrubbery. It would have, several years for those to grow to mature height. But in the meantime, you would have the privacy slats there to provide the privacy while the shrubs caught up with the adult growth. So I don't have a feel for how long that would take, but my sense is several years probably be enough.
Thank you, Jeff. Well, looks like we've got some more coming in here. You mentioned cost concerns for the county. How about the cost it would impose on homeowners? I'm not sure what cost this is in regards to, if it's regarding the shrubs. If the shrubs are planted on the property owner's side, the county would cover the cost of that planting, and the maintenance thereafter would be the responsibility of the homeowner. So an option is the fence with privacy slats and shrubs. Jeff, I'll let you weigh in on that.
Yes, it would include the privacy slats and the shrubs if that's the way we want to go with this. If that's what everybody agrees to, certainly.
Okay, thank you. And then it looks like it was shrub maintenance is what that last question was referring to.
Well, and the shrub maintenance, if the shrubbery goes on private property, we would not have the ability, the county would not have the ability to go on private property to maintain those shrubs. So that's why it would be upon the property owners for them to, the county would install them, but it would be up to the property owner to maintain those moving forward.
Thank you, Jeff. And this is another comment about those, the fence and the privacy slats. States the slats, which actually appear to be green fabric, is incredibly unattractive and an eyesore. Please do not use the slats unless they are wooden or attractive slats. So thank you for that input. Another question about what side of the fence the shrubs would be on. We are looking at the fence, the shrubs being on the property owner's side. Is that correct, Jeff?
At this time, yes, it seems to make the most sense to us because of maintenance issues. We would have to, it would take more real estate, more easement to actually plant the shrubs on trail side and then plant the fence, because we need to have access. If we're going to maintain both, we need to have access to get to the fence, to maintain the fence as well as the shrubbery.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we have a couple more questions.
Furthermore, I might also expand on, we're going to make every attempt. There are some areas along the trail where there's natural growth right now, providing some privacy. We're going to make every attempt to keep that in place. So we're talking about shrubbery. It wouldn't necessarily have to be everywhere. It would just be in areas where there would be a void in existing shrubbery right now. So it wouldn't necessarily be everywhere. It would be, so some areas already have natural shrubs grown right now. So we would make every attempt to keep that along with the fence. We would put the fence in, and then the existing shrubbery would be there, which is obviously going to be we'd have to maintain that as well.
Thank you. And we're going to keep along the same subject, it looks like. Would I be able to place my own tall fence along my property next to the chain link fence and get rid of the bushes? Would there be any problem with that? It's all yours, Jeff.
No, you have right to do whatever it is that you prefer to do on your own property. If you want to install a fence on your side of the property in lieu of shrubbery, that's your prerogative, of course.
And then the next one, are you suggesting the county will plant shrubs on my land?
That's what we're discussing. We're discussing if the preferred option is fence and then shrubbery outside the trail on the outside of the fence on private property. Yes, we are proposing that we gain an easement, construction easement from the property owner, and we pay and plant those on the property owner's side. The easement would go away after the construction is complete, but the property owners would have responsibility to maintain that shrubbery.
And I just want to be clear because I see some more comments coming in on this subject about the shrubs being on the private property. You know, if that is something that the property owners do choose, you know, and that's something we move forward with, it would require us to gain proper permissions to be on the property to plant. Now, if this is something the property owner is not willing or does not want, now, for obvious reasons, we would not be planting those plants on the property owner's side. We're looking at options right now. We're trying to, get input and make this work for everyone the best that we can.
That's very true. Thank you, Erin. Yeah, we're not saying that we're definitely going to plant. If you don't want it, you don't want shrubbery planted on your property, we're not going to propose that. We're not going to do that. So, and the other thing I might throw out there also is comment about building their own fence. They would have to obviously coordinate with city where they live, City of Largo, for example, or Clearwater, and make sure they get all the proper permitting. Wanted to throw that in there as well.
Okay, this is more of a comment, kind of and going along with this conversation. What are the arguments against choosing the fence with shrub option? This seems to be the option of choice. Do you have a rebuttal to that? Do you know of any arguments against putting the fence in, Jeff? Or
no, I thought the fence was a nice response to concerns about security and crime. I thought that was an obvious addition to the project, and the shrubs offer the privacy. It's just a question of how and where the shrubbery would go. So it seems to me that those are issues that can be worked out, and but I think it's reasonable to satisfy their concerns, to help satisfy their concerns. Let's put it that way.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, as far as I understand, residential properties in the area being discussed are limited to a 6-foot privacy fence. Could the ability to add a taller fence be coordinated with the city? And yes, I'll go ahead and answer that. That is correct. The code, and this is, a pretty typical code throughout Pinellas County, is to allow for a 6-foot fence. Anything higher would require a variance and would need to have that approved by the city or municipality, the governing municipality of that property. And finally, are C and D completely out of the table? The option on 19 would not impact our houses. I think Matt and Jeff have done a good job of explaining why the 19 option is not favorable due to the safety and other issues. Last comment. Thank you. The fence and shrubs are reasonable to satisfy concerns. And one more comment. concern in November were shrubs on the inside of the trail, along with the 8-foot fence as a double protective measure for security, not shrubs inside. I'm not quite sure if I understand that, but maybe Jeff, since you were at the meeting, does that sound familiar?
Yeah, I thought we talked about shrubbery, and along with the fence, we talked about the 8-foot fence. I think we've determined that we can go as high as 8 feet with a variance. It has to be justified. As far as, I'm not sure I understand Brenda's, she's saying that not shrubs inside. I assume she means inside her property line. I'm not sure if that's what she means or not, or if she means inside the actual trail right away.
It looks like she said correct while you were speaking to inside on the property side.
Okay. Well, we talked about a number of options, and certainly that's not out of the question to put shrubs on the trail side. It's just our preference. It seemed easier given the inconsistency of open backyards to the trail. Some already have some natural screening. As we discussed earlier, it just seemed reasonable to go along with the fence the whole way. And for those areas that needed the shrubbery, it would be on the property side, and for maintenance reasons would be easier for them to maintain rather than us. So we can certainly discuss both options. Let's put it that way.
Okay, thank you so much, Jeff, and the rest of the panel. With that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it back over to Tony.
Thanks, Erin. If you joined us late, we've been discussing phase 2, segment 3 of the Pinellas Trail South Gap, which is the section that connects Haynes Bayshore Road to Whitney Road. And as Mona mentioned earlier, we're going to take what we learned tonight, do some additional research, and hopefully come up with a plan we can show you. There's a lot of information about the Pinellas Trail South Gap project. Somebody asked about the entire gap. There's a lot of information about that on the project website, which is pinellascounty.org/southgap. And that address will be shown on our last slide. But here, if you have additional comments or questions, you can contact Jeff at the information shown on the screen. The email address to reach Jeff is ptsg@pinellascounty.org. And the phone number is 727-464-8994. We've had a lot of great questions tonight, a lot of great comments. We hope you found the meeting informative, and we're really glad you're able to join us tonight. Thank you, and good night.